Guide. In this tutorial, we will try to look at some of the commands which Linux has to offer. Most of these commands also applies to Unix and Unix-like operating system like Mac, OS X or FreeBSD. The first command which we would try to look is ls, which is for listing the files and folders. So by default, if you issue the command ls, it will list out all the files and folders which are present in the current directory. If you want to list out the files and folders into some other path, maybe /root, which is the root folder of the entire Linux system, it will list out like that. ls command has couple of options which respect to what all the ways it can display stuff. So if I want to list out the detailed list of ls, I have to give the option ls. So the options in Unix are mostly prefixed with the hyphen letter and then followed by some options. So in this case, the options for ls is -l, which is a long listing of the files and folders. So let's try to go at some of the fields which ls-l has to offer as part of listing of the files and folders. So if we look at the first row, this is the file name which I am looking at, and when there is a hyphen in the front, which means it's a file. When there is a D in the front, it means it's a directory, but then this is a file, so it's a hyphen. And then this field is for the permissions. It's a read, write and execute. We will go through in more details in some other video, but for this is the read, write and execute permissions for the user. Then the next three fields are read, the write is blank, which means it doesn't have write permissions, and execute, so it has read and execute permissions for the group. And then this field is for other, so other also has the read and execute permissions, it doesn't have write permissions. So this three field is for user, and the user has read, write, execute permission. This is for user. Group has read and execute permissions, and other also have read and execute permission but no write permission. Then the next thing what we have is a link. Basically this tells me how many files and folders are present inside this. So basically how many links it has, not exactly files, but it has how many links. Since it's a file, it doesn't have any other file containing inside. A file is just a standalone entity, it doesn't have anything inside that. So by default for file, the link would be 1. Then this is the user name who has created this file. This is the group which file belongs to. Then this is the size of the file, and then this is the day, month and time. Sometime this is time, this is the day, and this is the month, and this is the file name. Now let's try to look at this link thing. What is this link? So this link basically tells how many files and folders are there in that particular directory. So let's go to the folder called desktop or maybe some other folders and try to look how many files and folders. So if I go here, this has only one directory, and then each folder has two directories by default, which is called as dot and dot dot. So there is a folder called dot, and then there's a folder called dot dot. These two are special files and folders basically, which is present in all the directories. So by default it's hidden. The way to look at it is -a options, -a ls -la. L is long listing, and you can combine the option a, which shows hidden files and folders. It will tell you this. So if I look into this directory, I have four directories. One is this dot, the other is dot dot, and then this is the third one. So this directory contains 3 directories. So that's the reason if I go here and look at my desktop says a link of 3 because it has 3 folders inside it: dot 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 and maybe some other Shahid underscore project. Similar way, if I go into this folder John, it says a link of 4. If I go to the John, it has 2 directories. One is Tom, one is Kelly, but then two of them are hidden, which is dot and dot dot. I can see the hidden files and folders with the option A. So this is what it explains, and then this is the size of the files and folders. Now for file, the size is straightforward. It says 785, so this means this size, whatever file I have, that has a size of 788 bytes. So let me go and open that file. This is just some test file I was just looking at. So if you look into this entire file size, this is 785 bytes. But in case of directory, which is prepended by the letter D, the size is 4096, and you will see that if you create any new directory, the size will come as 4096. So let me make a directory called tutorial, and if I look at the directory ls-l, you see the size is 4096. So by default, what happens whenever a directory is created, there is a space allocation which is in terms of blocks, and that block size is 4096, which means to store the metadata inside that directory. So what is the metadata? The metadata is the directory says how many directories inside it is there and how many link files are there, those kind of things. So by, like we have seen that each directory contains a dot and dot dot, so basically those are stored as a metadata. So this is the space allocations. By default it's 4096 chunk. The next thing we will look as is inode, the concept of inode. If you look into the Unix operating system, in Unix or Linux, all the files which are stored in the system, they're stored in some particular physical blocks. Now those blocks might not be ordered in the right way. Some of the blocks might be deleted, and then some other data can come and fill up those blocks. So the way they arrange the file system is they prepare a list of inode, and the inode will look like this. You can see the inode with an options I, so li, and you can combine that. You can say lia, which is list out all the files and folders, which is a, list me the inode, and long listing, and it will show like this. If you want to remove the long listing, it will just say you inode like this. So let's go to the long listing inode. So what this tells me is, so if you have seen that earlier my data was starting from here when I was displaying the files and folders, it was displaying like this, but now there is another field called I. The inode field is displayed first, so which means it says that wherever this data leaves, this data for the file a.out leave, that belongs to block. So in the system, entire hard drive is segregated or made up of many such blocks depending upon the file system hierarchy layout, and this particular file a.out lives in this block. So whenever someone wants to access this file, the operating system knows to go and fetch the data from this particular blocks. Similarly, for this particular XML file, it will go and fetch the data from this particular inode. So inodes are data structures in the kernel, particularly mostly with respect to file system, where it knows which block has the data. So inode entry has all the known values to fetch the block data, and it can go and look for that data. It's basically a linked list. So that's about ls. Now the other useful command which we have is cd. Cd means change directory. If I want to go from one directory to another, it's a cd. So right now if you look, typically I have customized my bash rc script to display me my current working folder, which is my home directory, home/shakil, but we will look into all this kind of customizations later on. So if you look at the typical first time installations of Ubuntu or any, you will not see like this. For me it's like this because I have customized to show my past current working directory, present working directory. So if I want to go to some particular folder, I will say cd. Cd means change directory. So I will go to the /root. Now if I say pwd, it will tell me which is present working directory. It will say /root, and ls-l will say me different things. You remember I am no more having the Dropbox and those kind of folders or a.out, because I am in the root folder of my operating system. This root folder is denoted by forward slash. So mind it, there is forward slash root, which is the home directory for the root user, and then there is a root file system which is denoted like this. So both are different. This is the home directory slash root, and the root file system is denoted by forward slash. So this forward slash tells me that okay, I can go to this cd forward slash which is here, and I can stay at any folder and go into any path. So let's suppose I want to go to my home directory. So from my root folder itself, which is the root file system, I can go to my home directory. And mind it, in Linux there is a shell command completion. So if you press the tab and if you have the right types of files and folders already present, it will complete your command. So you don't need to type entire thing. If I have just sh and I press the tab, and it completes for me. And then inside Shakil, if you want to go into some particular, it will list out all the options. So if I say de, so it will list out. If I just say d and then tab, it will give me two options, because with d there is only two folders which is there, which is desktop and Dropbox, and it doesn't know which one I'm planning to go. So I have to give one more later to make it a right judgment that okay, I wanted to go to the desktop. Now inside the desktop again, you will show all the files and folders where it can go or it can read or do something. So this is about cd command. So we have looked at ls, various options with ls. We have looked at the cd command. Okay, now in ls, suppose if I want to list out the files and folders in a long list, which is fine. If I want to reverse that order, and maybe I will sort out by time, then I have to give the options LRT, which is a very important command. Many times you will use it in live scenarios wherein you want to list out all the files in some sorted way based on the time, and maybe in a reverse order or non-reverse. So if you look here, this is in the reverse order, in the sense like ascending order. So this file was created, this directory. So mind it, in Linux, directories and files are almost similar. The data structures, they are both same, just that directory can contains further directories. A file cannot have any more files or folders or directories inside it. That is the only difference. But in terms of data structures, representations and everything, in Linux and Unix, the file and directory are exactly similar. Exactly similar. The difference is only because files cannot have any more files inside it. It can just have the data in that file. So now here, if you see that okay, so John was created on December 18th, then this was mloss underscore expr on December 23rd, and like this was created just now. I have created on December 31st. So this is the way we can say, if we don't give the minus r options, which means that it will be now in the descending order rather than ascending order. So we can use the reverse order, and this t is for time. If I don't give the time, then it will just list out in some ASCII order, in the sense the way it appears. Small a first, then small d, capital D after that, H, something like that. Now there are a lot of options with respect to ls. Like if I have a file which is very huge and I don't want to see in terms of bytes, I don't want to calculate oh how many bytes are there. So there is options called LH. L is again long listing, but you can just use separately also, like this. You can use like this. So which means that it will give me in human readable format, and what it means is, instead of bytes or kilobytes, it will, like in terms of numbers, it will give me the prefix k or h or m, that okay, it's a kilobyte or a megabyte or gigabyte. So here I have a very small file, so it's not giving me that option. But if I wish to, I could create a large file any point of time. Like, let me just quickly create one file which is very big in size. There is some junk data, and then I will say hello.txt and done. So I'll have to do, I forgot to give the do. So while true, then say do and say echo some data into some file and hello.txt and whatever, and do done. Now if you see here, it will very quickly just create a file size which is this large, 23486 bytes. Now if I give the options ls minus lh, it will tell me in terms of see hello.txt 230 kb. So this is 230 kb. I can combine the options R and T, which means give me a human readable format with reverse order, which is ascending order, and then based on the time. Now if you see here, I can list out the files and folders, and can see, oh, this is 230k, instead of like going and calculating, okay, how much bytes, it's a kb or it's a mb or whatnot, gb. So that's the advantage of h, the options h. Then there are a lot of options in ls command itself, probably 50 or hundreds of options. We will not go through each of them because that doesn't make sense, and most of the people don't use all the options. But as and when needed, you can look in the man page. So what is man page? In Linux and Unix, a man page is a manual for a particular commands or maybe some APIs. So here ls is a command. If you type man ls, it will list out all the different options which you can see with respect to ls. Like we were looking for a, which is minus minus all, which will show all the files and folders. So in Unix, anything which starts with dot as a file name or a directory name, that's a hidden file, which means normally it will not show. But if you give an options minus a, it will try to show those hidden files and folders. So if you see here, there are a lot of options with respect to everything, so you can read through that. And then for the man page itself, you want to find out some details about the man page, then there is a man for a man. So you can do a manual for the man page itself and navigate and look for the options with respect to different commands. But most of the time, if you know the name of the command, you can go for man ls and look for that. Sometimes you can always get the help with minus h options, but here minus h for ls doesn't apply because minus h is like a human readable format, but for many commands it will help. So let me see if that has, so it doesn't have h, but in many of the commands you will see the minus h option as a help option, so they will have like that. Now if I want to exit this terminal, there is a command called exit. Once you type exit, it will exit the terminal, and you can open another console. So let me open another console and look at my settings. I am using a zoom profile so that it looks better, so like that. The other options you want to exit the terminal is control D. When you say control D, that's the end of the input, and it will also terminate your console. So in this I'm using in Ubuntu, and the console I'm using is called as console. By default it comes with xterm, but I'm using this console. If you look in the normal Ubuntu, there is a xterm, so you can install console with the command apt-get -y install console, and you have to prepend the command with sudo. So once you do that, you will see console, and you can open the console from here. You can type console and it will start. So right now I have already installed, so it's there, but once you installed, and you can also go and find the console. So thank you all for this video, and we'll see you in the next video.